leave female comics alone.
That's true.
Leave them alone.
I know.
Let them be comics. Would you do that to Sarah Silverman? No. Like, let them be comics. Because she would punch you in the face. Like, let them be comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman's pretty cute. She's a lot older
But
than
stop
me.
thinking that way. You can't think. There's other women to have crushes on. Female comedians. I'm telling you right now, you're going down the wrong road.
You went down the wrong road.
Strangers home doing a podcast. That's what comedy does to you.
Yeah, I actually didn't.
You could murder me. I wouldn't even know. Like.
I was thinking about it.
that's how comics are. We're like, yeah, I'll do a podcast. I don't know this guy, but he threw a name around I know. And
oh yeah, I actually didn't think you were gonna come.
I was part of that with Dave Chappelle and Greg Giraldo and Louis C.K.
Oh my God!
And all this stuff. My barkers were Pete Holmes and Nate Bargatze, and like it was an amazing time for comedy. Patrice O'Neal, all that it was happening.
What? You met Patrice O'Neal?
I met him. I wrote a lot of tags for him, and
that's crazy.
And put him on stage, yeah, because a lot of people wouldn't put him on stage because he made everybody angry.
He did. That's my thing. That's awesome.
Wasn't the nicest person, but he was a good comic.
He wasn't nice to you?
He was just one of those guys that didn't quite care about what you thought of him. So you have to get used to that kind of energy.
Oh, even as a fellow comedian?
Yeah.
Oh.
He kind of, he spread it around as best he could as far as love. But he was definitely an interesting cat.
Some of the social media content creators blew up, and they have like 500,000 followers.
Yeah.
And then they took the opportunities away from little guys like us. But not you, but me.
No, I mean, the pool is big enough.
Yeah.
You got if I could tell you anything besides a podcast conversation, but as a real conversation, I would say keep your eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
Like who cares? Some people are always going to blow up.
Yeah.
People are always going to, it's, I mean, imagine how musicians feel, when like people blow up with crappy songs and things. It just happens. It's not a big deal. Gangnam Style. That's our
biggest pride of the Korean. Weren't people welcoming when you moved out here?
Not at all.
What? It was 4 years ago, which is 2021.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, it's still a grind. You still have to find, the love. It is sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. It depends on if you're not ultra famous. If you don't have 1 million followers, then it's harder for you. That's just the facts. But you can choose to get angry about that. You could choose to self-loathe, or you can figure out ways to ask people. I work with a lot of great comedians and do arenas and crazy stuff, and that has a lot to do with being ready for things like that. I feel like in New York, it's all about, the stage time. It's all about the clubs. It's all about becoming a club comic. It's all about the cellar. It's always about this club and the comic strip and everything. Out here, I feel you aim a little higher in the sense of, let's write that script. Let's finish that thing. Let's make a movie. Let's get, I feel that's happening out here. And I like that energy. Whereas New York, it's like, it's kind of a grind. And then all the other stuff with the subways and just being condensed.
Yeah.
Right next to, I was in New York a very long time, over 20 plus years.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And did you own the club there?
I did not own it, but I opened a club with, rest in peace, Al Martin. So from the first day I was there, and I opened it, and I ran it and managed it and all that stuff. And booked all the talent, new talent manager and all that.
Were you guys close?
Yeah, we were close. When I first started comedy, it was New York Comedy Club, and I was a busboy.
Oh.
And I would cook, clean, which I don't think that's legal to do in one shift, and the club, and I would get stage time from it. And I would get like 5 minutes of stage time, and that's kind of where I met Chris Murphy and Steve Marshall and all those people, was at the New York Comedy Club.
I hope the ride doesn't end, because apparently everything is crumbling in Hollywood. But
yeah, but it's not with stand-up. Stand-up's thriving.
Yeah.
It's like, I work with Nate, and it's like, 20,000 people come to those shows.
Nate?
Bargatze.
I don't know.
You don't know Nate Bargatze?
Yeah.
He's the biggest comic in the world right now.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's the comic. He outsold Chappelle last year.
What?
He's the biggest comic. You should know this before. Well, I'm glad, you should know who he is.
Yeah.
But he would love it that you don't.
Oh, are you featuring for him?
Well, I open for him, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
We do arenas and stuff.
Thank you so much, Dustin.
What a strange interview. I love it.
It's rolling now. This one's for you.
Rolling. Very exciting. Strangers home doing a podcast. That's what comedy does to you.
Yeah, I actually didn't.
You could murder me. I wouldn't even know. Like,
I was thinking about it.
That's how comics are. We're like, yeah, I'll do a podcast. I don't know this guy, but he threw a name around. I know. And
oh yeah, I actually didn't think you were gonna come. Dustin, thank you so much for being on this podcast. You're probably the most famous one I've ever had.
It's pretty exciting. I'm excited. Yeah.
We have a lot of mutual friends. Do you want to start there or do you want
it's your show. I'm in your domain. Whatever you want.
I'm not sure if you...
Mutual friends. Let's do it.
These are very, low-level...
Low-level friends? I have a lot of those. A lot of low-level friends.
But how long were you in New York?
I was in New York a very long time, over 20 plus years.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And did you own the clubs there?
I did not own it, but I opened a club with, rest in peace, Al Martin.
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah, we opened a club together, the Greenwich Village Comedy Club.
Oh, man, I was there all the time.
Yeah, we're there. I was there for about 8 years, I guess, before the pandemic hit and all that. And then
you were a co-owner?
I opened it with him. Like, we had some arrangement, but yeah, I opened it with him.
And then COVID happened?
I just kind of ran it. He owned it, I ran it, and opened it with him from ground zero. Like, we put up the walls and painted it, and and I was in charge of all the comedians, booking it and all that stuff. Oh. He kind of let me create this scene of comedies, so it was really cool.
And then COVID happened and then it closed?
No, I decided to walk away from it and just felt like, I had a nice break of comedians not asking me for spots. Oh. So
oh my God.
I realized, this feels pretty good.
Yeah.
So I ended up just kind of figuring out how to get to Los Angeles. And so my girlfriend's also a comedian, Leah Bonema. And
Leah is your girlfriend?
Yeah.
I see her at Flappers.
Yeah, we've been together coming up on 18 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a grown child.
Do you have any children together?
No, we have 2 dogs, which same thing. But yeah, so I came out here and left the promised land of stage time and came to LA. So I like it though. I like being here.
Can I ask why you moved out of New York?
I, kind of wanted to aim higher. I feel like in New York, it's all about, the stage time. It's all about the clubs. It's all about becoming a club comic. It's all about the cellar. It's always about this club and the comic strip and everything. Out here, I feel you aim a little higher in the sense of, let's write that script. Let's finish that thing. Let's make a movie. Let's get, I feel that's happening out here. And I like that energy. Whereas New York, it's like it's kind of a grind, and then all the other stuff with the subways and the just being condensed.
Yeah.
Right next to. I mean, out here it's like we have crazy people and stuff, but at least we can drive past them. In New York, it's like you're stuck on the subway. There's a dude with no pants on, just right. At least in LA, you're just like, hey, look at that guy, and you just keep going. So I like just spread out and just the nature of California, and I like the clubs. I think I'm slowly getting into places and working it, and but yeah, I enjoy it here.
Do you like the beaches?
Yeah, all that stuff. Dog beaches.
Nice.
I love San Diego.
Nice.
Yeah, I love just it's a drive. You go to the mountains. You can go to Big Bear and hit the mountains. You can go to the desert and just hit like Joshua Tree and Palm Springs, and then I do all that stuff. I love performing a lot of those places, but I enjoy it.
Did you go skiing in Big Bear?
I haven't. No. Yeah. Maybe eventually. Yeah, I usually just go there and we'll get like a cabin for a few days and write.
Oh wow!
We just work on material and stuff and scripts, so it's fun.
How long have you been out here?
About 4 years. Yeah.
Dustin, this might be a weird question, but it's supposed to be like a weird podcast. Do you come from money or something like that?
No, I don't.
But you co-own the comedy club?
I didn't co-own it. Al Martin owned it.
Right, sorry.
And he said, I want to open this club.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of opening it with him.
I see.
He paid for it.
Oh, I see.
I just did all the work.
Got it.
And he got the glory.
Okay.
He got the money.
I see. And how?
I like chose the comedians and created the scene and helped design it and all that. But that I don't want. It was his club, but he asked me to come in with him and open it with him.
Wow.
So from the first day, I was there and I opened it and I ran it and managed it and all that stuff, and booked all the talent, new talent manager and all that.
Were you guys close?
Yeah, we were close. When I first started comedy, it was New York Comedy Club, and I was a busboy.
Oh.
And I would cook, clean, which I don't think that's legal to do in one shift, and the club, and I would get stage time from it. And I would get like 5 minutes of stage time, and that's kind of where I met Chris Murphy and Steve Marshall and all those people. Was at the New York Comedy Club. So I was his busboy, and then I ended up kind of producing shows, and then we had a falling out, and then he ended up working at another club, the Boston Comedy Club, which is a club he kind of ran a little bit, and he asked me to take that over. So I took that over.
Wow.
And I ran, the last couple of years of the Boston Comedy Club before it closed. I was part of that with Dave Chappelle and Greg Giraldo and Louis C.K.
Oh my God.
And all this stuff. My barkers were Pete Holmes and Nate Bargatze, and it was an amazing time for comedy. Patrice O'Neal, all that was happening.
What? You met Patrice O'Neal?
I met him. I wrote a lot of tags for him, and
that's crazy.
And put him on stage. Yeah, because a lot of people wouldn't put him on stage because he made everybody angry.
He did. That's my thing. That's awesome.
He wasn't the nicest person, but he was a good comic.
He wasn't nice to you?
He was just one of those guys that didn't quite care about what you thought of him. So you have to get used to that kind of energy.
Even as a fellow comedian?
Yeah. He kind of, he spread it around as best he could as far as love. But he was definitely an interesting cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture later.
Okay. Yeah, can I overlay it? Like on the podcast?
Yeah, I'll show. Well,
later.
I'll send it later. Yeah, I'll send you a picture.
Dustin, I saw you performing at the Flappers Comedy Festival.
Oh wow, okay. You didn't say hi?
Well, I didn't. You just went back to the green room afterwards. I didn't want to stalk you down.
Oh, you were just in the audience?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have a very unique style, obviously.
Okay.
You were weaving in and out of crowd work, and then.
Okay.
Is that kind of your?
Yeah, I mean, Flappers is it could be one of the best rooms, in comedy out here, and it can also be a difficult room. And I feel like, and it all has to do with the audience. You don't, I feel the audience it's always kind of a crapshoot. You don't know kind of what you're going to get. I always enjoy it, but sometimes I feel it's more work, and sometimes I feel it's not as much work. But when I feel it's work, I'll play with them. But I only do crowd work to get to material. I'm not doing crowd work because I'm trying to get a clip or I'm trying to make fun of someone. I'm only doing it to get to a bit, get to a topic. So if I make fun of two guys or whatever, I'm going to try to get to something about friendship. If I'm making a play with a couple, whatever, Mexican guy, whatever, I'm trying to get somewhere. So that's what I feel when I engage. That is always my purpose, is to get this engagement to a bit of material.
Is that how you always start with?
I try to, yeah. And then once I kind of got good at that, I just try to do that every time. It's just because it's a good one. Because sometimes it's if you just go right in the material, sometimes they're not ready.
Yeah.
They're just not ready for it.
Yeah.
And they don't, you need to warm up. You need to play with them a little bit. You don't want to go too much crowd work, but a little bit is good, I think.
I think when I saw you in the Yoo-Hoo room, it was a very old room for some reason.
Okay.
You were making fun of them for
being old.
You come alive or something.
Yeah. I mean, it works. I don't know. You find your thing that's you're good at, and it's one of those things I have is where I can play with people and make fun of them a little bit, but not too much. Just kind of I kind of know the line. Usually, sometimes it goes off the rails, but most of the time it works.
So Dustin, I'm not sure if this is gonna be fun, but basically I was friends with Pete Burdette.
Pete who?
Burdette. He was barking in front of.
Yes, Pete Burdette. Sure.
I'm not sure if he's still working
What's
there
his
now.
nickname? Comedy Pete.
Comedy Pete. Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yes, hi,
Sweetheart. He's good at karaoke.
Pete.
I think he sings a lot of Whitesnake. What's up, Pete? A lot of floral shirts, a lot of Hawaiian shirts.
A couple of times I barked with him, but he probably doesn't remember me. I think he remembers me like vaguely.
Yeah.
Joe DeSantis, Mike Kramer, Talia Reese, Steve Arons. Steve put me on a couple of his shows.
Yeah, I try not to say Steve's name 3 times. He might show up. But Talia is a sweetheart. She's somebody that I kind of took on early, saw something, and put her on stage kind of, before a lot of other people did.
She's like blowing up now.
She's doing great.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Alingon Mitra.
Yeah, he's another one that I kind of took care of in the beginning.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he wasn't getting a lot of stage time. And I would help him get up, and then he started kind of like taking off during the pandemic. I think he had a good run on social media.
Content, yeah,
and he started kind of blowing up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, most comics that you look up to came through me at some point.
Are you serious?
I could say that without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, man.
Of course. Most people at some point are connected to me.
Ashley, Gavin, Caitlin, Peluffo?
Peluffo, for sure. All these people. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they all connect to me at some point. We're connected in some way. It's like there's a game called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like there's 6 Degrees of Dustin Chafin in comedy. Somebody at some point knows me and have connected to them somehow.
Well, it's an honor, Dustin, but I'm actually in a little bit of a trouble because I'm complaining about some of the things in the comedy scene here. But
what are you complaining about? Is that what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
Well, I don't want you to have a negative impression of me, but I've been here a little bit, and then I was complaining a little bit about like the.
What are you complaining about? Like
favoritism.
Favoritism, sure, okay. Well, that's why I produce shows. It's like in the beginning, it was just like, I never wanted to wait around to get picked. I always felt like, I was different than everybody. I was from Texas, kind of a little rough around the edges. Like I wasn't, a guy that clicked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, especially with the clubs and stuff, I always had to work for my stage time. And so I think that's why I was with Al Martin for so long, because it was like he gave me an opportunity to kind of create my own scene. And so he's just like, I got this club, I also ran shows at New York Comedy Club, and and then when he opened the Broadway, I had an upstairs room, and it was the uncensored comedy show, and I did a lot of stuff. So a lot of that was just like, I could get the stage time, and I could also create relationships with bigger comics, like Patrice or Greg Giraldo or whoever. And I was like able to do that by running my own stuff. So that's one thing in the beginning that I always did.
Yeah.
I always like ran my own show. First it was the Village Lantern, which was that was the first place that I ran. And then I had that 7 times a week. There was a full-time comedy club before anybody did anything there.
Yeah.
And then that's why Al wanted me to kind of run the Boston. At one point, I was running the Boston Comedy Club on West 3rd. And then I was running the Greenwich Village, Village Lantern, and that was 7 nights a week, and the Boston was 7 nights a week. And I would run over, I would start the Boston Comedy Club shows, and then I would run back and start the Village Lantern shows. So I had 2 clubs going at the same time, and it was crazy.
Wait, you were managing Village Lantern?
I was running shows there. I was the main producer. I was running 7 shows a week in there. And I was running shows out of the basement. They used to do it downstairs.
Yeah.
And it was just like the comedy. So I would run shows down there.
Do you remember this guy, Matt Maron? He was doing this.
Mark Maron?
No, Matt Maron. He's like we were just saying open mic. He produced like a wrestling comedy show at the Village Lantern.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And he moved it to the stand, right?
Maybe. No. I was before all that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been a very busy time for you.
It was great. Yeah, I mean, I've ran a bunch of stuff and done a lot of things and created clubs and done stuff, and but it was always under that you're feeling that you're feeling. It always came from there. But that's the feeling that made me say, screw it, I'm gonna run my own stuff.
But I feel like it might, because you already had a reputation in New York, so weren't people welcoming when you moved out here?
Not at all.
What? It was 4 years ago, which is 2021.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, it's still a grind. You still have
Oh.
to find, the love. It is sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. It depends on if you're not ultra famous.
Oh.
If you don't have a million followers, then it's harder for you. It's just that's just the facts. But you can choose
Wow.
to get angry about that. You can choose to self-loathe, or you can figure out ways to ask people. I work with a lot of great comedians and do arenas and crazy stuff, and that has a lot to do with being ready for things like that.
Yeah.
And asking, but not only asking, but being ready when I get the opportunity. Because a lot of people ask to go up in front of people, ask to open on the road, ask to do all these things, but then they don't bring it. It's not, they don't crush the room and they don't stand out, and there's really no need, if you're not going to be the best comic that they can use. And so things like that. Like I get opportunities, I bring the game,
So when you say bring the game, I
Mhm.
think it's probably different for somebody like me versus somebody like you.
Okay.
So like when the opportunity strikes, am I supposed to have like an hour of like killer material?
No, it's like, no. Just, I always say this to a lot of people I work with.
Yeah.
I say, you should have 3 clips.
Oh.
You should have the late night show, something that's 5 minutes, that's clean, that's perfect for late night television. Then you should have a 5 to 8 minutes that's kind of your festival set.
Right.
And that's basically, it's your TV show. Like if I'm a producer and I watch that set, I should be able to see the TV show in that set. It's like Ray Romano,
right.
Roseanne, whatever. When they did their comedy, Tim Allen, you saw the show through their comedy.
Right.
And then the other one, you should have a 20 to 25 minute at least. And that is you crushing for 25, 20 minutes.
Right.
And then that's basically your road set.
I see.
And then everything else, you can make a living having those 3 things. And then, of course, the hour and all that is what you want to achieve and what you want to get to.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that. You're not expected to have that right away.
And the dry bar stuff, I think you were doing like an hour.
Yeah, it was fun. It wasn't quite that long, but it was. It was good. It was like a fun,
That's
and
awesome.
but that's kind of a, it's a calling card. That's why you want to do things. And a lot of people, you don't need a dry bar. You can do your own thing.
Yeah.
You can produce your own special, and that's the beauty of where comedy is right now. I mean, it's some people are, it's not good in some ways because some people think they're better than they are, and they produce things, and maybe they're not quite ready for something like a special. But then there's also people that are ready for a special that produce it themselves, and then they get an opportunity, and then the world gets to see how funny they are. So comedy has changed in the past 10 years. It used to be you had to get a credit, you had to work the road, you had to know somebody.
Yeah.
Now it's like you get a good enough following from just you in your car saying silly things, and then you do a special and people come out and you can make money and you can sell out clubs, theaters.
Right. How do you feel about these people? I don't mean to sound negative towards them, but there are people who grew
Please
up.
be negative. I know how to do it. Negative. Be negative.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm ready for it.
I don't really like some of the social media content creators who blew up and they have like 200, 500,000 followers.
Yeah.
And then they took the opportunities away from little guys like us. But not you, but me.
No, I mean it's the pool is big enough.
Yeah.
You got if I could tell you anything besides a podcast conversation, but as a real conversation, I would say keep your eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
Like who cares? Some people are always going to blow up.
Yeah.
People are always going to, it's. I mean, imagine how musicians feel. When like people blow up with crappy songs and things. It just happens. It's not a big deal. Gangnam Style. That's the biggest
That's
song.
the biggest pride of the Korean. It's not very good music.
But there's guys that are just like classically trained that can't get it. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, there's always going to be somebody that goes beyond and somehow figures out the formula, cracks the code.
Right.
And you just can never let that upset you. You have to just constantly be making your material better? You know, how can you stand out? You know, what material can you do that's so unique to you that nobody can deny you?
Right.
Be so good they can't deny you. Always be the best comic on the lineup. If you're not the best comic on the lineup, you're not ready. You know, if you walk out of that club like, you know, like that's what you're supposed to do. You know, I think Bill Burr said it where it's like, be able to be so good that nobody can follow you. Like that's the energy you want to get to. You don't want to be worried about who's got, you know, blew up on TikTok. You just do your own thing. Or you blow up on TikTok. Do the content. You know, it is the most open art medium I've ever seen in my life. Right now we can make a video. You know, in 3 seconds you could post something and it could possibly change your life. You know, with followers and recognition. That we didn't have that when I came up. We didn't have things that could. I mean, I remember YouTube starting to happen.
Yeah. And
comics were like kind of like Russell Peterson, and like people were kind of like experimenting with it, and then they got big off of it. And then, you know, before that was MySpace, and Dane Cook was able to kind of benefit off of that. So there was, you know, it's always something where comics are able to take advantage of this medium and create and get out there. And so, but you also have access to it. It's not like they're the only ones that have access to it. You know,
that's true.
So you have the same opportunities as they do. Anybody that blew up, you have the same opportunity. Maybe they figured out the algorithm and whatever and all that stuff, but you can figure that out too.
Yeah.
It's open to you. It's not like they have it and you don't. You know, it's like you have a phone, you can do it.
I heard Matt Rife did it like that, like because he wasn't liked, and then he did it his own thing, and then he blew up.
Yeah, I mean, he was liked in some circles and not liked in others. Just like every comic, every single comic that you can think of. As many people like him, I can tell you 10 guys that don't.
Oh, really?
And tell you that they're jerks or whatever. It's just what is what it is, you know. Some people like, but I met that guy, nice guy. Very funny and nice. No, I met him in St. Louis or something.
Oh, shit.
Wow. He was a nice guy, whatever. Our tour buses were coming in. I toured with Bargatze, and we toured up. We were doing some of the similar shows or something. But he was great. He was a really nice guy, and, you know, who cares? He doesn't care anymore. He doesn't care if you hate him. You know? It's like he takes his shirt off, and all these girls love him.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah, I guess he found his audience demographic.
He found his audience, and he's funny. I'm telling you, you just gotta like, you know, you have to find your enthusiasm for your work.
Yeah. And
that's it. Nobody else's work matters. I mean, you can get inspired. Let people inspire you. I have friends that are hosting, you know, award shows, and a friend that's in like 3 Marvel movies. And it's like, you can't concentrate on what they're doing. You have to enjoy that they're doing well. And then you gotta like find the joy in what you're doing.
Right.
And it's like, it's not a big deal. Life is good. For every comic has the same opportunity. You just got to dig in, stay positive, and enjoy the ride. Enjoy the process. You know, it's a fun thing we get to do. To get up, grab a microphone, and make people laugh.
Nice.
It's really nothing better than that.
Yeah.
It's really one of the greatest things in the world, is to get up and bring joy to people who otherwise might not have had joy that night.
Right.
And so we get to do that. And we get to come up with our ideas, our experiences. We can be silly. We can be characters. We can tell stories. We can be one-liners. We can do whatever we want. You're in control of it. It's the coolest art form.
Well,
you don't have to rely on another actor. You don't have to rely on the drummer being on beat. It's just you.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. So enjoy that you get to do it. And if you don't want to do it as much, you're not getting to do it as much as you want, then just find other ways to figure it out. Like find a strategy that's going to get you closer to what you want.
That's kind of crazy because I was thinking, because it might sound arrogant to other like musicians and painters and stuff, but didn't you just say the comedy is like the greatest art form?
I think so. I think it's better than every other art form. I do. Well, I think it's the hardest thing to do. I think it's harder than everything. I think piano can be taught. I think stand-up is, you know, you can teach it, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. I feel that. This is me. I'm around comedians all the time. I went to art school.
Oh, for real? Where'd you go?
I went to Parsons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I feel like I've been in that world of wanting to be a fine arts painter, or sculptor, or fashion designer, whatever. I went through a lot of phases.
Wasn't Parsons a fashion design school?
It was everything. It's like art. It's a design school.
What'd you study?
Originally it was design.
Oh.
And then it became fine arts. Just I needed a degree so I could do comedy. So I was just like, to make my mom happy, I got a degree. And then just started, because that's around the same time I started doing stand-up. Was in college. And so I was like, I'm just going to, yeah. So, look, I think, I can't play guitar and I can't do a lot of things that people can do that are all the other arts. But what I'm saying is it's like, I just feel, I've been around a lot of it, and I think stand-up encompasses a lot of different things that I think not everybody can do. I think it's just a different muscle.
How do you
and
feel?
It's the greatest.
How do you feel about like comedy not being regarded as art in many people?
Well, no, I know what you're saying. I know here's the deal. There's a delusion in comedy, and the delusion is, if you look at it, like there's a comic on stage. A lot of people think they can do comedy.
Yeah.
That's the problem with comedy. Is some drunk guy, he's sitting there, he's watching some comic. I could do that. Because we make it look easy. We make it look seamless. We make it look like the improv is just there. Maybe sometimes it is, and sometimes it happened on another show. We bring it to this show. And it looks easier than it is. And so, because everybody thinks they're funny.
That's so true.
And most people are not. My brother thinks he's the funniest guy on the planet. He's not that funny. He just tells ridiculous jokes he heard and racist jokes or whatever he listens to. And he thinks he's so funny, and he repeats the same stories. And I love him, but he could never do this. And it's a craft.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't see it as a craft. They just see it as something that, everybody's funny and everybody can do it. If you can make your friends laugh, you can make strangers laugh. Not true at all. Because we have this short amount of time to get this audience into what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're selling this thing, which is ourselves. We're selling ourselves to strangers night after night. And sometimes we got to deal with alcohol. Sometimes we got to deal with distractions.
Yeah.
We got to deal with not the best circumstances, with lighting and stages and whatever. And we still got to pull it off.
Yeah.
And to do that takes an exceptional person. And I think comics are exceptional. And when you can do this and do it well and get a crowd laughing, I think it's really something to be proud of. And you don't have to be proud of that means more than your followers. If you can do it good, eventually you will work. I guarantee it. If you can do this consistently and do it well, you'll work. You'll make money. You'll figure your path. Just be great. At least aspire to.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like you're. I'm getting the sense that you're a pretty assertive person. But have you ever had any experiences where you had to some hecklers pissed you off? No.
Yeah, of course. I've had horrible experiences. It's stand-up comedy.
But you overcome every time.
Not always. I've had some bad meltdowns.
Oh, really?
I've been booed by 3,000 people.
Oh, no way.
And I've had crazy stuff. Yeah. I've had experiences that, should have broke me.
Oh, wow.
In stand-up. And they did, they should have. I should have quit this thing years ago, but you keep doing it. There's been bad experiences and meltdowns. I went through alcohol and drug addiction and different things that I've had to overcome. And and just, things that don't always, go well. And you're on stage and there's some sort of friction you got to deal with. But and, I haven't always been assertive, and I haven't always been good at telling people what I need from them. But, something I've learned, a lot of therapy.
Do you recommend therapy for comedians?
Yeah, I think not everybody may need it, but if you feel like you're smoking weed or drinking because of issues and feelings, then and things like that. If you feel like you're, an anxious person and can't enjoy life, then sure, I think therapy helps. It helps you kind of what is that word? compartmentalize. That's the word. I'm from Texas. Compartmentalize things that are issues or whatnot, and focus on the things that matter, the things that bring you joy. And so I think therapy is good for that, and letting things go.
Is that a Texas reference?
That is a I was drunk reference. This is it's a longhorn.
Oh.
It's part of the Texas, and then that's a lion. Oh. It's a Leo. Hey.
Oh, you're Leo?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which drug were you addicted to?
Whatever drug was around, pretty much. Okay. I was a big drinker.
Oh.
And then whatever.
Sorry about that.
Whatever. Oh, don't be sorry. I'm proud of it. It's a badge of honor. So now, see, that's the difference between you and I. I'm not sorry about it. I'm like, I overcame, and that's, it's who I am. And it's really good material I got from it, so.
Are you California sober now?
No, I don't do anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm just straight edge.
How's it feel?
Good.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, weed's cool. I like weed, but it's just not for me, I wish I could. It just makes me want to do more. Do other things, and so I just stay away from it. It's not a big deal.
Oh, that's nice. You're friends with Melissa Weisman?
I am.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
She's a good friend, too.
Yeah, she's great.
Well, I'm not trying to diss LA people, but do you feel that New York people are very different from the LA vibes? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a little harder out here sometimes to make friends and to kind of be a part of like a comedy scene and camaraderie and all that stuff. It's difficult. There's
it was easier back then.
Well, it's never easy, but I feel like New York is like, we're so on top of each other out there. The clubs are close to each other. Like you're just kind of, I think it's just easier to, I feel like a lot of the clubs play the same people. And so a lot of the same people are in the same environment. And so you kind of become like a, kind of a foxhole of comedians and, brothers and sisters, like a band of brothers and sisters kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's different, and then just, I don't know, for me personally, I feel like it's important for comedians to introduce themselves to people and talk to people that they don't know and just try to get to know people, because you just never know. Sometimes it's like your friend is waiting there for you to talk to them, and you just don't, we get so, in our heads, especially at comedy clubs, because we feel like, you're nervous, or you have anxiety, or you're about to go on stage, or maybe you didn't like your set or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think comics are pretty good people for the most part. There's a few that maybe aren't so good. There's some bad eggs, but most comics are pretty good. If you're gonna get up and stand in front of strangers and tell jokes, and you're doing it for a long time, this is your life and your passion, I can probably get along with you pretty well.
That's true. But there's also we're talking about kind of like psychopath, not psychopath, but like some mentally ill people in the community.
That's the open mic scene. Yeah,
that's true. People who make it probably are not that mentally unhealthy.
I mean, there are. I mean, look at some of Louis C.K. I mean, there's some people who do some weird stuff, but it's like you have to kind of like.
Louis C.K. was weird?
Do you not read the news?
But, okay, well.
If I pulled my dick out right now, would that be weird? Pretty weird, don't you think?
Yeah, well.
Well, really well? I think he's a genius. I think he's a genius. And I think he's one of the best comics we have. But I'm just saying he's got some demons. And I'm not here to judge. I have demons too. But
right.
But that's not the demon I have. But I think, I'm just saying, sometimes the artist comes flawed. And I'm not judging the artist and, for being flawed. But I'm just saying that's the lack of therapy sometimes. That's the lack of, self-care, taking, doing some inner perspective work. But he's funny and he's great. And without him, it's like comedy scene wouldn't be as good. Like, he contributes to this thing. He's the Mount Rushmore of like great comics. But I'm just saying, sometimes that comes with a price.
Were you two friends?
And the price.
Oh, sorry.
No, I wouldn't call myself friends. No, but I know him. I've had shows with him and stuff.
Wow.
But that's New York. Everybody had shows with Louis. He's all over the place.
That's true.
Yeah.
I used to go see him at Stamford, Connecticut.
Mm. Yeah.
It's Well, yeah, I'm probably downplaying a little bit, but it sounds like he had like repressed sexual things, I guess, and then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it.
Well, you brought it up, so.
I mean, yeah, I did bring it up, but no, I mean, he's a weirdo, man. But but I don't care. He's a genius. Michael Jackson is a genius, but he's kind of a weirdo.
He is.
It's like everybody, you know. It's like you take it with what you got, you know. It's like, do I still listen to Michael Jackson? Of course.
Yeah, me too.
Do I still think Louis C.K. is a great comic? Yes. It doesn't affect the art.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, I
didn't put him on stage. He tried to come down during all that stuff, and I wouldn't put him on stage, just because I had a lot of female comics at the club, and I just said, it doesn't feel right, and so I turned him away.
Where?
At Greenwich Village
Really?
Comedy Club. Yeah, I wouldn't put him on stage, and so, but
maybe that was a good idea.
Yeah, well, he went to the cellar, but I wouldn't put him on, and so I was like, go over to the cellar.
Yeah.
It wasn't inappropriate in the time. You know, a lot of young female comics, because I'm, you know, it just wasn't, you know, I just felt like it was a decision that was good for that time. Al was not happy. He was very upset. Yeah. He was very upset. He thinks, you know, and we fought about that.
Like he was not happy. Okay.
We fought about that. But I was like, whatever. You put me in charge. This is what happens.
That's true. I feel like I would have made the same decision in your shoes, because.
Yeah, you don't know. You know? I mean, this happened so long ago. I'm sure he's moved on, and he's sort of apologized and whatever, so it's fine. All right, let's talk about something else. What else you got? It's my fault. I shouldn't have taken that.
Well, this is probably not relevant, but I did get banned from a couple of places because I made a list of all the women comedians that I have a crush on in the open mic scene.
That you have a crush on?
Yeah. And then some of the clubs.
Is this in New York or out here?
Out here.
Okay.
But I've been in the open mic scene for so long that I'm basically like sisters. I mean, they're like sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got banned from a couple of different places.
And why did you do that? Why do you think? You think it was funny?
Yeah.
You thought it was funny?
Yeah.
You tried? Did you try to frame it like it's, hey, this is funny?
Well, I was doing it at open mics and it was getting a lot of laughs.
Oh, you were doing it on stage.
Yeah.
Okay. And so on stage. It wasn't like you put a list out and put it on the internet or something.
Well, I was doing it at the open mics, and then I put the list out.
Oh, you put the clip up?
No, I put
you put a list
out. Yeah.
All the comedians you have a crush on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's... Yeah, you didn't think it through.
No, but it was getting real, like, pops at...
Yeah, at what expense? You know, I think your material... I'm sure you have other material
I do.
that should be getting bigger pops.
Uh-huh.
When you go... It's a little, you know... First of all, here's the problem. I've been with a female comedian for, you know, like I said, 18 years. Yeah. And so she's been on Colbert. Like, she has a successful career. And it's like, all she's had to deal with is, you know, male comics, you know, treating her different because she's a female. And she's very pretty. And so she has to deal with that stuff. And so it's just something that what if you did, every time you did comedy, you know, a gay comic was like, oh, he's so handsome. Oh, this guy, I have a crush on him. He's so handsome. What if that's all you heard all the time? It would just be weird. And so you got to treat comics. It has nothing to do if they're female or male. And that's, you know, true. It's just let them be comics. They're there to be comics. They're not there to have some guy tell them that they would have sex with them. That's not
what I was saying, though.
Well, that's what
that's not what I meant.
That's what crush means. So stop doing that. You don't need to do that.
All right.
It's like just leave female comics alone.
That's true.
Leave them alone.
I know.
Let them be comics. Would you do that to Sarah Silverman? No. Like, let them be comics. Because she would punch you in the face. Like, let them be comics. Really? Yeah.
Sarah Silverman's pretty cute. She's a lot older than me.
Stop thinking that way. You can't think. There's other women to have crushes on. Female comedians. I'm telling you right now, you're going down the wrong road.
You went down the wrong road.
Well, 18 years is pretty good. I think it worked out for me. Yeah, well, ask them out, but don't make it weird from the stage. I never got up there and said, "Oh, Leah, look at her boobs." Like we did that off stage.
I see.
I never like made it uncomfortable for her from the stage. Like we had a relationship, it ended up happening. We didn't want it to happen. We didn't want to date comics, but we ended up doing it. But I asked her like a gentleman after, you know.
Were you both in New York together?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. She was a kind of a newer comic. And
oh, really?
We kind of had a friendship, and we were probably friends for like 6 months or so, 8 months, and then we decided to kind of date. But you know, I never made it weird from the stage.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a no-no.
I know.
And it's just like, I know you didn't mean it. I know you
Yeah.
were just trying to be silly and was getting laughs and whatever, but you just got to realize women, when they walk out of the house, there's some dude saying something to them. They go to the store, somebody says something to them. They walk their dogs, somebody says something to them. Comedy, for a lot of them, it's their passion. Mm-hmm. They should be able to just do that without getting it there too. Yeah. You know, it's just a place where they should feel safe. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's why the Louis thing sucks, because it's like they were just young comics trying to look up to somebody else, and so that's all they want to do. Female comics just want to be comics. Yeah, let them do that without making it feel like you're looking at their butt. No, I'm not. But you're saying it, and so you're getting excited. But date
I
somebody
have to
else.
look at them when they're on stage, so I thought they were attractive when they were on stage.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
If we and I were on a show together, and I kept saying how attractive you were, it'd be kind of funny, but it would also be weird. Yeah. You know, but I'm going to make sure I do it, just so you know how it feels if we ever do a show together.
You're not gay, though, right?
I will be for the joke.
Oh, no. That is weird. Was she pretty good from the beginning? Your girlfriend?
Yeah, she's pretty good, yeah. She figured it out, you know.
Do you think some people just have it even the first time they perform?
There's sparks of it, yeah. It's not always flushed out, but it's.
Did you have it?
Yeah, I had. You know,
the X factor.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's an X factor, but I would say that I'm a different kind of artist and kind of weird, and kind of like I felt like I had something that was different than everybody else, and it just I don't know, just my comedy brain and the way I present myself. I just felt like I was an artist, and I felt like comedy was just where I fit the most. And so I did feel like I got some big laughs early on. And I figured out how to write a joke pretty quick. And I think a lot of people never do. People, sometimes a little wordy on stage and telling stories and stuff, which is great. And if they're good at it, that's amazing. Yeah. But I really dug into Mitch Hedberg and Dave Chappelle and Stephen Wright, and I wanted to learn how to tell a joke. Yeah. And so when I started early on, jokes get big laughs, and so I would, figure out a way to pop these jokes and kind of string them along or whatever. But yeah, I think I was pretty good from the beginning. Not great by any means, but I was, I had a grasp of it.
Would you say Mitch and Steve, they were your greatest influences?
I would say Stephen Wright is probably a big influence for sure. He was really fantastic.
How about Seinfeld?
Not as much, but he's definitely a good joke teller. I like him. Yeah.
What don't you like about Jerry?
It's funny. It used to be. I didn't feel his comedy had a lot of bite. And
I agree.
and now that I've seen him recently,
never mind. Yeah.
I feel like he has a little more. He's a little crankier now.
Oh, nice.
And so I feel like that little Larry David thing. It's more of that now. So when he's on stage, he's a little more in your face, and I enjoy his comedy now more than I did the '80s stuff. So I think today where he's at is really great.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a lot more personal. It's a lot more kind of, it's good. I mean, he still has that Jerry structure, but I think it's a little funnier. And some people don't get better, and he's gotten better. George Carlin got better. Wow. Certain people get better, and I think he's a guy that I think I enjoy it much more. His later comedy.
He's in his 60s now, right?
Yeah, he's great. He still does well.
Wow. If you could talk to yourself like when you first started out, like maybe like 3, 5 years in the open mic scene, what would you tell your younger self?
Don't drink.
Don't drink. Yeah. Don't drink before shows.
Well, I didn't do a lot of open mics. I just worked at clubs.
Yeah, that's true.
I did very few open mics.
Nice.
But I would say write more.
Yeah.
Take risks. Take more risks. Learn how to act. Do some plays. Maybe kind of expand your acting and things like that, so you could be a more well-rounded comedian. And get on the road more. Maybe don't run as many shows, but get out on the road and do more time on the road. Because I feel like since I've been doing that over the past few years, I've gotten better.
Wow.
Just by being, in different states,
nice.
Performing in Florida and Arkansas and Oklahoma and, all over the world. And I think that is what is making me a better comic. And so I would say I would love to have done that, some of them earlier, gotten on the road more, like just kind of became a road dog.
Do you go to Colorado at all?
I do.
Yeah. It's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, Colorado Springs I play quite a bit.
Nice.
That's nice out there.
Yeah. It's cool. What do you think about the woke culture here in LA?
The woke culture?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, like, kind of, when I started getting recognition and doing well, I guess, I was very anti that in the sense of I was really talking about topics that would get you in a lot of trouble today. And just racism and, just, sexuality and different. I just was really kind of a, balls to the wall kind of comedian. I did a show called, Showtime, White Boys in the Hood, and it was basically just, I did a slave joke, I did all kinds of crazy stuff. And so, so I understand what that is. I understand, because whenever something is too rigid or something is too, like, offended, the other side blows up. And so, and the other side has a tendency to kind of like go after that, and then comedy becomes this thing where it's, it's all about censorship, and I should be able to say this and whatever, and hence that's kind of what's happening in Austin. Is people feel like certain people get too sensitive and get too offended, and then a edgier scene comes from that, and people want to fight against each other. I personally feel the goal for me personally is to try to not offend people as much. Try to somehow play any room, no matter what you believe politically, and be able to make you both laugh. That is the goal. Some people have a very left, kind of angle in how they do their comedy. It's very one way. I'm trying my best to make it both sides and make both sides laugh, left or right, whatever your thing is, and just have a good time. And so I try not to get too involved in that stuff now. But when I started, I was edgy, and I would take, in your face, religion, whatever. Now I do a little less of that. It's a little sillier. It's a little lighter. I'm a little cleaner than I was.
I love your religion stuff. I was
thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Like Hindu and the Christian.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, buddy.
Do you like Joe Rogan?
As a comedian or as a podcast host?
Either.
No.
No,
let me answer. Don't do that. I think he's, I've heard he's good to a lot of my friends. And so he's helped a lot of my friends
holy shit,
get to the next level. And so I feel like he's been good, at helping comedians kind of get huge recognition and a huge fan base. And so that I appreciate him for. He's good for comics. I think he's definitely a champion for comedians. And now with the crazy stuff that he says, some of it I believe, some of it I don't. And that's just really, I think a lot of that is getting too high and just like, having an open mic to open platform to talk about things, and he just says whatever he wants. It's really just there's nobody telling him to rein it in, and so that's what happens when a guy is on top and nobody tells him what to do. Sometimes he goes a little too far, maybe, but at the same time, he's exposed some stuff that's probably relevant, and so I think he's good and bad. But I think as a comedian, I think he really wants to be a good comedian. A lot of people trash his comedy. I think at least he's taking risks. He's trying. I think he's funny in a lot of ways. I think I thought he was great on that show, News Radio. It's very funny.
I thought you were going to say Fear Factor.
Yeah, he was good on that too. But he's funny. He's not somebody I would go out of my way to see. But I think he has something to offer, and I think it's he's relevant in that sense. And then what he does for stand-up is unbelievable.
Yeah.
People sell out arenas once you're on that show. It's crazy.
I feel like I can cut this out if I'm saying something weird, but he's more of a versatile personality, charisma person than a pure stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I mean, he has a brain. He's trying to process things. Yeah. He's I mean, some people chase, kind of like this Bill Hicks kind of thing, or I feel like Bill Burr is probably closest to it. Doug Stanhope is closest to it, but not everybody has that kind of the way of doing comedy. Not everybody can just tap into that. They can get angry about things and they can have some sort of political slant or whatever, but it's like there's very few people that can really pull that off. But I think he's chasing it, and maybe one day he will. It's like we all get better every time we do comedy. So just Bill Burr wasn't that good when I saw him in the beginning. Patrice wasn't that good in the beginning. I mean, a lot of these people just weren't that good. It's like they were not really. That's comedy. It's like people can't just come. People aren't just good right away. And so they have to find it. And even guys 10 years in, 20 years in, it's like sometimes they just make a turn and they get better,
Or they get worse.
Or worse, maybe. Yeah. Certain people, a lot of people have gotten worse, and that, I think the worst thing is when they're trying to be too political, too, left or too right. And I think those people end up getting a little weird. But when it comes to the woke, whatever, it's like I just try not to phrase it like that anymore. I think we're past that as people. And I think if people still talk like that and put people in categories, then it's just like you're too shallow for me. Like I can't take it. I think we need to see people beyond a label of what we think they are. And it's just like and people that really use that word in the beginning, or people that have been oppressed and stuff. And so let's get rid of that word for next year. This is dumb.
I'm gonna respect your time. I think we have like 7 minutes left.
Sure. Well, that went fast.
This might be a weird question, but did you see like Nikki Glaser and like Colin Jost and all of them rise up to like Paul Mercurio?
Sure.
Wow, that's crazy.
How's that crazy? You see everybody out here.
Who? Oh yeah, I saw Bobby Lee and Pauly Shore.
That's what I'm saying. What's the difference?
Man, because these people are legends in people's minds. They were legends in my mind.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't put people on pedestals. That's the story of comedy. You can respect people, and you can think they're doing amazing things, and they've hit it, and they're doing great. But at the end of the day, they're just like you. They're just comics grabbing a mic. Not a big deal. I've seen people skyrocket. And I've seen people that haven't. They're just as funny, and you seem to be really kind of impressed by certain people, and I think that's a good thing to have admiration, but you got to be careful with it, because it's like, you are able to get to that level, and you can't, like, don't make it so unattainable, because everybody can really rise up and become great and be big and make a splash. You just have to kind of put your head in there and just do good comedy. I mean, Nikki Glaser is somebody, it's like she really has a good head on her shoulders, and she like zeroed in on what she wanted, and she got it. You know, and that's part of it too. Some of these people are very manifestation and goal oriented, and they really go after what they want, and it's like, and it's great. It's great to see. But she's really funny.
As a last question, have you ever seen somebody who's young who blow up like a little bit too early, and then they go kind of crazy, or like?
Yeah, well, not necessarily crazy. I mean, I've seen people that I thought were gonna kind of go a little further or whatever. I mean, I remember, you know, I used to put this comic up, and he would go up as the teenage comedian. Like that was what they called him. And you know, and I told him one day, I said, "Look, dude," I go, "Stop saying that. Just go up as Pete Davidson." Like, you know.
Was Pete Davidson?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And I said, just go up as your name.
Oh.
Stop going up as the teenage comedian, because you're not going to be a teenager forever. And so just be Pete Davidson. And so I got to watch him explode, and, you know, whatever. He's a big part of my life, and, you know, 10 years ago. And so watching these people, you know, kind of blow up and stuff is great, and it's a beautiful thing. And I, you know, I can't think of anybody in particular that didn't work out. I feel most people, you know, we're all doing well. Some of us are, you know, I work with people that sell out arenas, and like I get to be a part of things, and you know, and so I feel like there's a piece of pie for everybody. You just have to really enjoy the pie and stop, you know, saying you have crushes on people at shows, and stop thinking that everybody is like famous. It's like the most amazing thing ever, because it is nice, but it's like you can do it. You can get on a TV show tomorrow and be the wacky neighbor, and could, you know, sell more tickets than Paul Mercurio in 5 seconds. It could happen, you know. It's like trust me, it's like it can happen in a day's notice. It's like you just have to kind of like, what is your focus? You know, and online you could like have some TikTok that's like off the charts, and kids can't get enough of you. You got a good look, whatever, like use it. Just, you know, I think we should all enjoy this ride, because it's a great ride. We get to do this, and I love it.
I hope the ride doesn't end, because apparently everything is crumbling in Hollywood. But
yeah, but it's not with stand-up. You know, stand-up's thriving. Yeah. It's like I work with Nate, and it's like, you know, 20,000 people come to those shows.
Nate?
Bargatze.
I don't know.
You don't know Nate Bargatze? Yeah. He's the biggest comic in the world right now.
What, really?
Yeah. Oh. He's the comic. He outsold Chappelle last year.
What?
He's the biggest comic. You should know this before. Well, I'm glad, you know, you should know who he is.
Yeah.
But he would love it that you don't.
Oh, are you featuring for him?
Well, I open for him, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
We do arenas and stuff.
Thank you so much, Dustin.
What a strange interview. I love it.
Yay.
It was great. Good job.
Thanks.